to approving the minutes. And also, I want to remind the board members that we are streaming live, so please put your microphones down so that you can be heard. The last time we did this, it was a problem in hearing some board members. So if you please do that, that will help our audiences out away from this facility. I signed up. Do I need to turn this on?
It's on.
Okay. I signed up to talk because I wanted to introduce to the board, I know I haven't met her yet, and we are so very pleased to have Christine Sutton as our interim CNO, replacing a long-time CNO.
You're getting feedback. There's a lot of feedback. Turn it down a little bit.
Turn it down a little.
Sorry, it's Kai.
Okay,
I was talking to Sam.
sorry.
It's
It went through my ears and over there. Okay. Anyway, Christine, if you'd come up here so we can introduce you not only to our board members, but also to the public. We're very happy you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And she has been a vital part of Nacocgdoches Memorial Hospital management team for 4 years. And she is moving up to our interim CNO. And we are very pleased to have such a good leader take on this role. Thank you so much. The other person who has signed up to speak is our chaplain, Richard Harris.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to sign up. I just wanted to have a brief prayer before we begin the board meeting. Two things.
We need to have you up with the microphone. I'm sorry, we're live streaming.
I just want to begin the board meeting with a brief prayer. First of all, just take a few minutes of silence to remember Gary, his service with the team here at Memorial Hospital and for our community. He did that on 2 different occasions, and I just want to take a few moments of silence while we think about that, and then have a word of prayer. All right? So just bow your heads in. Father, as I think about Gary and his service to all of us, I thank you. Father, I also thank you that you gave me an opportunity to visit with him while he was a patient here before he left. Not as chaplain to CEO, but as friend to friend. And I thank you that I was able to affirm with him his trust in Jesus' love for him. So that helps me, and I pray that it would help the team members and his family to know how good you are taking care of him right now. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Okay. Now we will have approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes. I was there.
Motion was made by Patrick, seconded by Farah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries and the minutes are approved. Okay, Dr. Jeremy Smith. Medical staff reports.
Yes, ma'am. I've got a very brief list of reappointments for the board to consider. These did come to MedExac, and we're recommending that they get reappointed by you guys. We had one new appointment as well, and a couple withdrawals very near for reference. We will bring those to your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve this medical report?
I move we approve the medical report. Second. Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Medical staff report approved. The
It is an honor to present a long-term dedicated member of our memorial family. She has proven to be a person of honor and integrity, an example of true professionalism. She has spent the last 41 years of her life being an humble servant to the patients of this facility and our community. During this tenure, she never failed to display a compassionate and caring demeanor for those who were entrusted to her care. On behalf of the Board of Directors, administration, and our memorial family, we want to present this token of appreciation for 41 years of exemplary service to our own Emma Arriata. Please help me celebrate her. Mr. Bentley says she must have began prenatally. Yes, she did. The plaque says, Nacocgdoches Memorial Health, presented to Emma Arriata. Thank you for your 41 years of dedicated service to Nacocgdoches Memorial Health, 1977 to 2018. We love you.
Can I say something? Yes. I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to the family of Memorial. And I remember when I first came in, it was Mr. Charles Wright I had really had to thank. At that time, he was the president of the board. And there are so many people I really have to thank. And anyway, I'll miss you all, and thank you. This is home to me. I spent most of my years here in the Philippines. Thank you. The next agenda item is results of operation.
I am getting heckled up here before I do my presentation. That's okay, I'll take that. I'd like to talk about the results of operations for you for the month of October. We had 313 admissions, resulting in 1,476 patient days. Our rehab admissions were down a little bit. We had 24 rehab admissions. Last month we had 35. Our total surgeries, 163 surgeries compared to 165 last month, so those were pretty consistent. We had 55 births compared to 75 last month, so we saw a pretty big decrease in our births for the month of October. GI procedures, 51. Last month we had 43. Cath lab procedures were down a little bit, 129 compared to 155 the previous month. And we had 2,180 ER visits compared to 2,176 last month. So pretty much consistent right there. When you look at our,
I did.
thank you.
Just nod your head, I got you back.
Gotcha. Did you do this? Did you cause this not to work? Are you tricking me? I know it was. When you look at our admissions, the top line is Medicare, so we had 144 Medicare admissions for the month of October, so that we saw some increases there. Medicaid volume, we went from 89 to 65. That decrease is associated with our drop in our births. And then in the other lines, managed care, which is the third line, we had 52 managed care admissions and then 28 self-pay for the month of October. When you look at our income statement and kind of what that volume translates to, our gross patient revenue for the month, we were at $24,534,000 compared to $26,195,000 budget. We did receive $960,000 in UPL money for the month. We only budgeted $369,000, so we got a good pickup there. And then total net patient revenue for the month, we were at $5,776 compared to $5,662. Tax subsidy for the month, we were at $539,000. We had budgeted $608,000. When you look at our expenses, we were at $2,505,000 on expenses compared to budget, on salaries compared to a budget of $2,771,000. Some of the lines in our expense category that were a little bit different than what we had seen is our medical supplies. We were $680,000 compared to budget of $505,000. We have an October inventory, fiscal inventory count, and we took a $300,000 adjustment due to our inventory count, which is what's driving that number right there. The second number was in pharmaceutical supplies. We saw an increase in pharmaceutical supplies of about $155,000 compared to where our budget was and where it's been trending. That number is, that increase is due to the fact that we were dropped out of the 340B, thank you. I saw the 340B program, and so that had an impact on us. That happened in the month of October. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in Steve's report. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing to get back into that program. So overall, you can see that our depreciation and amortization, that didn't get booked last month, so we booked it twice at $778,000. So overall expense line, we ended with a net margin loss of $758,000 compared to a budget of loss of $742,000. Current month, an positive EBITDA of $230,000 for the month, and we're at an $813,000 positive EBITDA for the year. When you look at patient revenue, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're trending, we're still, the last 3 months we've really hovered around that $24 million mark. And then the blue line is kind of our net revenue. Again, in October, our net revenue looked a little bit better, and it's because of the UPL that we got for the month of October. And we have also received the same, almost the same amount for the month of November. So when you look at the next graph, just to kind of give you a comparison to our bottom line, and what I really like about this is when you look at the first September through really March, you can see we were all over the board. We really kind of stabilized some of our accounting processes and some of our processes, and you can see we're a lot more consistent. The beautiful thing about this one is the blue line being EBITDA, and so for the last 5 months, our EBITDA has been positive. So we still have a little bit of work to do on our net margin, but we're getting a little bit closer to closing that monthly. EBITDA is kind of a better indicator, or closer indicator of cash flow. So that's a really good trend in that graph. And then finally, when you look at days unbilled, we're right at 7. We struggle with this. It fluctuates so much, but we're working with our physicians on trying to get our discharge summaries done and all of our documentation so that we can get these bills dropped in a more timely manner. When you look at patient collections for the month, we had $5,312,000, so we had a good collection month, good AR, and that's kind of at a very high level where our month ended. So again, we're kind of holding our own as far as all that goes. Does the board have any questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
The unbilled days were at 7, and you're working with doctors and so forth to get that. Is there any other thing that can be put in place to lower that?
A lot of that is, I'm looking for maybe, a lot of it is just, it really is physician documentation, discharge summaries, responses to queries. That's really, we do all we can do, and then we have to push the physicians to get that done. So I'm not aware of anything, but I mean, I am not beyond bribing or anything. So if you have any suggestions, I'd be more than happy to do it. It is, it gets frustrating for the staff to try to get some of those things done, so.
The other thing I noticed is that our clinic for our practitioner visits, they just seem to be going up. Are we properly staffed for those increases?
Are we properly staffed for the increases? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think that's a good sign. I mean, that's a
Oh,
really good
yes.
point. I mean, hopefully we'll start hitting some capacity levels and we won't have any excess capacity in some of those clinics, but.
Well, as they keep going up, I just want to make sure that,
We were actually overstaffed back in 2017, and we experienced a general decrease in the number of FTEs from 80 that we had in 2017, average for the year of 79, down to 70. And so, but we do have a couple of positions that we're recruiting for right now, or working towards, rather, replacing. But overall, we're in good shape.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Okay, strategic committee, Lisa King.
We need a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry. Need it? No. Fair is moving to approve that, and Patrick seconding. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries, and the results of operation report has been approved. Lisa, strategic committee report.
The strategic committee met, and Gary Kendrick was not with us for that meeting, so Rhonda pretty much ran the meeting. We did discuss a change to the board meeting date, which was the actual meeting that we did yesterday evening, and then to have the other meeting tonight. We discussed the change billing for EMS services with Emergicon, and we're going to hear that report in a minute. Revision to the general surgeon employment agreement, Richard presented that, and you'll hear that in a moment as well. The culture of safety report was done by Christine. Then we did at that point also canvass the election report and discuss the election matters and close the meeting at that point.
Thank you. Do we have to approve that?
That's just a report, not an action item.
Compliance report, Noella Freeman.
So I'll jump right into what we're working on right now, which is our health stream training requirement, primarily under our CIA. There's two portions of that training going on simultaneously. One is the new employee orientation that's due within 30 days of hire. We have the minimal compliance is 95%. We have been consistent with that since we changed our processes, collaborated between HR, compliance, and nursing, and changed our policies around that back in May, I believe it was. So we are consistently moving to our compliance requirements for that. The other is the annual training that's due for all employees hired up through December 31st of last year. Right now, we're at 79% compliant. We still have the rest of the week. There's a lot of activity going on. I could barely get my report finished today for all the knocks on the door and phone calls from staff asking for resets for the passwords. So we're doing well there. I think we will, hit our target. My goal is 100%. We will see. We'll keep moving on from there. Risk assessment. In our last board report, I talked about a conversation I had and that we needed to have an external risk assessment completed. Compliance Resource Group will be coming back to complete an external risk assessment. They did the initial risk assessment for the facility once we were placed on the CIA back in 2016. I am in conversations with them. They are scheduled to be here December the 19th and 20th. It's a few weeks away. And that's already been scheduled. Those of you who have been invited for one-on-ones with them, if you haven't sent me your scheduled time, please send me your preference for time on that. And we'll have more on that after we have our assessment. our next hospital leadership compliance committee meeting is 2 weeks away. It's on December 13th. That notice went out today. I do need the quarterly reports from everybody who reports to that committee by Friday next week, the 6th. The new board members, welcome. I gave you a black binder. That binder is yours to keep. Ooh, it is so important. So please hang on to it. And what I did is, even though you have the CIA on the website, I made it easy for you and gave you a copy of it. And I sent out your emails today. You have some homework to do that's required as part of our CIA, primarily your training. So you have health.edu compliance training, and then you have the code of conduct, which you'll have in your email, a copy of it to make sure you read that. You have attestations to sign. There is a deadline of 30 days. But I also printed out all of the attestations that you have to complete and put them in the black binder as well to make it easier for you. So again, welcome. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call, and we'll move on from there. Next up for compliance primarily is the rollout, once we complete the HealthStream annual, is the rollout of the annual acknowledgements to all staff. That's the acknowledgement of your roles in compliance as it relates to your unit, as well as your conflicts of interest statements. So do expect that to be rolling out for Monday, with the deadline of everybody having theirs completed and turned back in by the end of December. Our year 3 is quickly coming to a close. The year ends February 10th. We are working diligently to make sure we are meeting all of our requirements under the CIA. I appreciate and thank all the staff now, in the past, and for all the work that you've done so far to assist me along these lines. It takes a lot of collaboration to get this done. And for any of you all who don't know or haven't seen it, this is what the annual report looks like when it's submitted. It's this big. There's a lot of work that goes into this. So I want to thank everybody for your participation, because it's really critical and important that we do the things the right way. Not just because we want to get off the OIG's hit list, but because we just want to do the right thing and be thought of as a compliant and ethical organization. That's all I have for now. The rest I have is for executive session. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Now we are going to have the Culture of Safety Survey from Christine Sutton, CNO.
Well, about 2 weeks in now as an interim role, and surprise, Joint Commission showed up this morning. So I just wanted to make you aware that Joint Commission is here for a 3-day survey. They're focused on the lab recertification. So you might be asked to help provide different documentation, so just FYI about that. Okay, so back earlier in this year, Michelle and her team sought for cost-effective ways to survey the hospital for patient safety. AHRQ, if you're familiar with them, the Agency for Healthcare Quality and Research, is a very reputable government agency, and they actually, Michelle found a free way for us to survey our staff to find out, how is the teamwork within the hospital? How does the staff feel safe to report possible errors, that sort of thing. So we have the results that came in, and with that, we've kind of worked on what are the top 3 areas that we want to improve on. We're going to spend the whole year working on ways to improve. The 3 things that we've identified are communication openness, teamwork across the units, and handoffs and transitions. Those are areas that we really need a lot of work. The teamwork, interesting, within the department is fabulous. This database was compared to 630 hospitals. We were compared, and we were right up there with teamwork within the units. Teamwork between departments, not so well. We need to work on areas to improve there. Communication openness, we also decided that we need to work on that. I think once we improve the open communication, we are going to improve the management support for patient safety, which also kind of scored low. And handoffs and transition is the 3rd one that we're going to be working on, and that one is, department to department, nurse to nurse. That one, we had actually rolled out something actually pretty recently, a handoff tool that's a standardized tool that nurses are giving each shift, updating it every day. We have put a group of staff together because the way to get people to be engaged is to involve the key players, and that would be the staff nurses and the other departments as well. So we are having our first meeting next Wednesday, December 5th. We want to create a culture where people feel safe to report possible errors if they see a near miss that happens. I take that very seriously because that is an opportunity for us to improve a process. Interestingly enough, when they asked a lot of questions about staffing, we fell right within the rest of the country. Everyone feels that they're working hard, and so we scored right exactly with the rest of the country. Any questions about that? Again, this is going to be a year-long process that we're going to probably resurvey in about 18 months and see how we improved. Thank you.
Any questions? We need a motion to approve this safety survey.
Makes sense. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. It's been approved. Thank you. And now we have unpaid with contracts and agreements.
I'm going to talk to you, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Emergicon, or about our EMS billing contract. Several months ago, we had started talking about our EMS service, and I have to say, that is one thing that I believe this whole board agrees on, is how important the EMS service is to this community and this town and this population, and we heard it very loud and clear that this board and this community supports it. So we're trying to work really hard on closing our gap on that service line. And to credit to Paul and Forrest, they've done a lot of work on trying to figure out what we need to do about billing and for this service. So they've gone out and they've talked to a billing company. It's called Emergicon, and they're out of Forney, Texas. And we've done some research, and we feel like it's a really good switch for us to switch to a different billing company. We currently use an outsourced company for our billing. And let me just kind of talk about some of the differences. And we had a meeting with them. We were very impressed, and Patrick was also in the meeting with us. So the primary thing is the company that we currently use, whenever bills go through, they go through an electronic scrubber. And they don't really look at them, they don't touch every one of them, they don't look to see if we can we're coding at the correct level of service. But Emergicon really touches every single bill that goes through, and they look at it and they make sure that we've coded it correctly, that we've hit the correct level of service. So it's a lot more hands-on approach, and I think that's going to give us a much, much better result on our billing. And the other really big thing is our other company was charging us 8.9% of collections, which is pretty standard. They came in and they're going to charge us 6.9%, and we asked them to give us a discount off of that because, well, I bargain with everybody, and they're going to come and give us 6.2% for the first 6 months, and then go up to 6.9%. And that's contingent on one thing. They want us to relook at our fee structure, because on some of our things we're billing below Medicare allowable. So we have some opportunity, and they feel like there's such a difference in that. If we don't change our fee structure, they're going to charge us 8.9%. So they feel like there's such an opportunity in the fee structure that they can drop it down to 6.9 and still make the same amount of money. So with that said, I think there's huge opportunity in two areas for this. They're going to do a better job for our EMS billing. we're gonna get more collections, they're gonna charge us a lower rate, and with our increased fee structure, I think we'll get some additional money too. So the time frame of this, if you approve it tonight, is it can be implemented, they think 90 days, but we think we have things in place well enough that we can maybe make it go in 60. And then the goal is to really start seeing some improvements, and we'll come back, once we get this building, we'll come back and we'll report to you where we're doing and how they're doing and how they're comparing and how we're looking just at kind of a service line compared to where we were. But we think this is a very big step on helping with our EMS service line.
Rhonda, what was the initial that they said would improve as far as the collections?
They had quoted anything from 300 to 700. Yeah, based on current.
That's a year?
Yeah, yeah.
And is the current builder we have only does the EMS?
No, our current company does EMS and they do our clinics too, but they're two separate. The EMS is done out of Houston and our clinics are done out of Dallas, so two separate offices. But we are negotiating too, and we'll talk about that when we go into executive. Some of our deals we're negotiating with intermedics.
Will we incur any sort of penalties?
Nope. We are, the contract is termed, and we're looking at that to ensure that we won't, but at this point, I don't think we will, because the contract is termed and we're month to month.
Now, with MergeCon, a coder's gonna touch every single bill that's submitted, that's correct? They're not using an algorithm to kick it one way or another, you understand that, right?
That is what they're saying.
What's their first submission percentage, you know, collections? I mean, how often on the first pass do they get exact matters, you know?
Do they get kicked back and they have to re-scrub it?
What's the resubmission percentage, basically?
I don't know that, Paul, do you know what that number is?
The conversation I had with him, I believe he said it was like 89 or 90% above the company standard. First time acceptance, because they scrub it and they physically go through every line item to make sure that it's properly coded.
So they have like a software that, because I know a lot of,
Right.
not billing, that's all right.
Any other questions?
Do we have a motion?
I'll
Okay.
second.
We have a motion to approve this MergeCon billing contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you. It's approved.
Thank you.
General Surgeon Employment Agreement, Richard Wallace.
I'd like to get direction from the board, first of all. Generally, when we have employment agreement conversations, we take those into executive session simply because we have salary and compensation figures that we review. So that being said, I have two different ways that we can look at doing this tonight. First, I want to give everybody just a little bit of a background and history of why we are here tonight, having a conversation about the possibility of employment of a physician, in particular a general surgeon. So I'd like to do that first, and then there's a recommendation that Steve Smith, since he wasn't able to be here tonight, he has made a recommendation regarding this agreement, which we can discuss in open session, and depending on how we do that, if you want to go into further detail, we go into the closed session later, we can do that. But first of all, just to give everybody kind of a background on how we're here tonight. Back in the summer of 2017, there was a medical staff needs assessment that was presented to the executive team and to the board. And that needs assessment is, I think, a biannual project that was being done. And it looks at the general makeup of your primary service area, secondary service area. Looks also at the makeup of your medical staff, and it looks at the needs that the medical staff perceives or suggests regarding the complement that we have with our medical staff. And so when that needs assessment was done, the medical staff needs assessment in 2017, it indicated that we had a 0.4 FTE, a little less than a half of an
in the general surgery area based upon just our community makeup and our primary service area. It also then looks at something called succession planning. And what succession planning looks at is basically the age of your medical staff. And it identifies if you have providers who are over 60 years old, you need to start considering and looking at the possibility of that planning, because it can take years sometimes to recruit a physician into your area. And so that succession planning showed that in the general surgery area, there was a need for 2 FTEs. And so in total, based upon the makeup, the demographics of our primary service area, and then the makeup of our medical staff, it indicated that there was a need for 2.4 FTEs as far as general surgery goes. Third component of that assessment was based upon interviews that were conducted with 18 members of the medical staff, and asking them what their assessment was. I think Dr. Smith, you were part of, I believe, I remember seeing your name on that list. It's been over 2 years ago, but anyway, it was it asks, you know, what are the needs that the rest of the medical community sees. In all 3 areas, it showed that there was a need for at least 1 FTE for general surgery. Now, that being said, that last one, the interviewing of the medical staff indicated that a part of that was due to the succession planning and the current makeup of our general surgery. Another thing that we looked at that time was we have in total on our medical staff at that time, we have 6 general surgeons who are listed. But in reality, when you look at the utilization of the facility for both from 2016, 17, and 18, we have 2. Back with Dr. Walker, he was the busiest and the most productive of the general surgeons. Even at his advanced age, he did more general surgery cases than anybody else. And when he left, we saw a significant decrease in the number of general surgery cases. In fact, it dropped by 26%, 189 cases from 2017 to 2018 after he left. He did 277. After he leaves, the next year, we have a decline of 189 cases in general surgery. And so we also looked at that. There are 2 other general surgeons who did more than 60 cases for the year. One was Dr. Page and the other is Dr. Redfield. The others who I think one did 57, one did 50, one did 1 case a year, and one did 2. And so really, in reality, even though we have 6 on our staff, we only have 2 who actively do more than about a case a week in our area. And so anyway, based upon all of that, we go back to August of 2017. In January of 2018, we were contacted with an indication that we had a physician by the name of Dr. Nushfar, who was at the time located out in New Mexico, who was interested in coming here and being an employed general surgeon here. We were interested in him also because he did a lot of gastroenterology, a lot of GI, and our GI volumes have dropped dramatically over the last couple of years, and we had built out a very nice GI lab upstairs that's being underutilized, grossly underutilized. Over 40% decline from 2017 to 2018 in the number of cases that were being done there. Anyway, we talked to him in February of 2018, presented him with a letter of intent. It was down between us and Maine, and for some crazy reason in February, he decided he wanted to go to Maine, which he did. So we did not pick him up. I was glad to see that over the next 3 weeks after he went up there, they had snowstorms. And I hope he reconsidered the decision that he made. But anyway, he was gone. Then in the spring, late in the spring, around April or May of 2018, we again had a general surgeon who expressed an interest. He was located in Denton by the name of Dr. Chambers. And we met with him. There appeared to be a strong interest on his part. We presented him with a letter of intent, had an employment agreement. He did not sign the employment agreement, but he was interested in coming. He tentatively was scheduled to arrive and join us in the late September of this year. He then had some personal issues that developed with a father-in-law whose health issues required that he wanted to stay up in the Denton area, to be closer to where his father-in-law lives in Wichita Falls. And so he pulled out of the offer, and we decided that that may not be a good fit. That happened in October, really, or September. We kind of postponed him coming until December, and then backed away from him too. In the meantime, in July of last year, or this year, rather, 2018, we also had Dr. Ashley McElroy, who's currently a resident up in Minnesota. She also came and interviewed. She did sign an employment agreement. She is on tap to join us in July. She's finishing up a residency right now up in Minnesota, and is scheduled to be coming and joining us. She signed the employment agreement in, I think it was in July, maybe in August. So we've got her coming on. In September, late September, we received a notice that we had another physician, Dr. Jason Suits, who you have in your packet, I think on page 54 or 55. You've got a summary of his background. He is currently located up in the Longview area and has expressed a desire to relocate down here under an employment agreement. We were interested in him because, number one, he's from Mount Enterprise originally, went to school at SFA, actually came through here in 2004 when he finished up his residency and interviewed with Dr. Walker and some of the other folks who were here, decided that he wanted to go to Longview Regional Hospital instead, in that area up there. And so for the last 14 years, he's been up there. Changes have occurred a couple of different times. Started off, he was an independent, then he became an employed provider of CHS, and CHS, through some transitions that they've been going through, they've mutually agreed that they would no longer employ him or his group of 5 providers, and so they became independent again. Through changes that have been going on up there, he has realized that his overhead costs are a lot higher than they used to be, and also that the volumes have dropped off some. And so that's why he has a desire, and he's looking at the potential for all that cost or developed, and we had him come down here for an afternoon visit, and he met with, we took him out to dinner. There were 7 people involved. Dr. Smith was involved, Dr. Huggins, Dr. Farron, Steve Smith, Christine, myself, and of course Dr. Seuss. Had a visit with him, and that was on November 14th. So that gets us to where we are today. Okay.
Madam Chairman, can I make a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to take this to executive session under Article, deliberation of appointment duties of an employee under Texas Government Code 551.074 for the particulars, if we could.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries, and we'll move this to closed session.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have the administrative report and from our interim CEO, and report and board calendar, and Rhonda's going to do that. Steve is unable to be here. He had a family medical emergency, and he expressed his sincere sadness that he wasn't going to be able to be here for his first board meeting. But nevertheless, I expressed to him that he needed to be with his family. That's where he needed to be tonight instead of with us. So Rhonda is going to, he did turn his report in, so she is.
You did, so I think you should read it. First, I'm gonna say, Steve is lovely. He's a walker and a talker, and if he had a Fitbit, they're still in town. How many steps he has got done in the first 2 weeks that he has been here. So for those of you who have not had a chance to meet him yet, I'm sure you will see him walking the hall soon, and he is a wonderful addition to our team, and I'm so happy that he is here. So this is his presentation or his report. First, I'd like to talk about, we're going to talk about compliance matters, and he says, I have spent considerable time reviewing details of certain compliance matters, including the CIA. to assure that we are conducting any investigations in a consistent manner. I have asked our lead attorney monitoring the CIA to provide guidance on other matters. And then he referred to Noella's report, that she would discuss that more in executive session. We want to talk about short-term financing options for the December 6, 2018 IGT. He said securing this funding is critical to the short-term funding strategy. To date, there is not an identified source. If there were local ties to financial resources, this is his begging, now would be the time to call on them, even if it takes multiple sources. So we have talked a little bit about that, and we are trying to find funding to get our next IGT on next week. So we'll see how that plays out. 340B pharmacy program. HRSA continues to stand by the deadlines and will not retroactively reinstate any provider to the program. We continue to work to clarify the status of re-enrollment for January 1st, 2019. We will, in the meantime, be looking at ways to manage the outpatient pharmaceutical expense. And if there are any board members that might have concerns or questions about that, please feel free to give Steve a call. General surgeon, well, we're going to talk about that in executive. Physician engagement. Considerable time has been devoted to meeting physicians by attending medical staff committee meetings, hospital rounds, and visiting their offices. To date, I have met with 12 physicians in their offices, so he is certainly getting out and about. In regards to employee engagement, he conducted an introduction meet and greet with department leaders, and he has made rounds in many of the departments, and I know he and Christine have done a lot of rounds together, so that's, I think, really good for the staff to see the two of them working so closely together. So that is his report. I think the other thing that we need to talk about is the timing of the December board meeting, unless we would like to meet on Christmas. I think we are suggesting that we move it to be on the 18th.